as ComScore's Media Evangelist, you've been very vocal about the future of video and really harping on a couple of things that I think would be great to dig into today. One of them is attribution modeling.
Yes, so this is something, I always like, whenever I like to talk about anything, I like a good macro context, right? So it's oftentimes we're sitting here thinking of online video, and that's a subset of online, and let alone that's a subset of a grander marketing mix. So attribution modeling, and I imagine at an agency it's something comes up quite often with your clients, is I have all of this money. Where should I be spending it, and how effective are all of the individual pieces? So if you think about the future of online video, it's going to be very important to be able to help define some science as far as how that fits into it. So when you have 50% for this and 20% for this and so on and so forth, how do you go about doing that? And you have, obviously decades and decades of history on TV, print, outdoor, there's analytics associated with all of these different types of engagements, and we're at a relatively young stage here with online video. That said, we certainly have gotten to a point of it's beginning to really mature, and the analytics to be able to help prove ROI or the brand engagement, the brand metrics we've talked about earlier, both quantitative and qualitative pieces of analysis have gotten much more sophisticated. So let's say that as we continue forward with online video, the attribution models, right? So how does this fit into the marketing mix? I think we'll continue to get A, better, and then B, I am a firm believer that we'll see online video, especially as we innovate in online video as far as the types of both ad units and content stuff, will have greater and greater impact in how that plays into any of us as online video watchers at home.
So you talked a little bit about quantitative and qualitative. Where do you feel the right mix is heading to for a marketer and for from the data perspective to make the best decisions?
Sure. So this is one of my favorite topics because I've been in the internet and research for a long time. And when you came around, as soon as the internet launched and marketing began to come about, it was all quantitative. Everybody was like, all those classic metrics that we've looked at since the beginning of time no longer matter anymore. It's about click-throughs, it's about conversions, it's about views and impressions. So that was really where it all started out. It was just direct response medium. Take this action, right? Everybody's like, great. And I was like, CMOs, you guys have sort of a different background, right? There's been money that has been spent qualitatively as it relates to advertising offline for many years. So as we began to move into and have more sophisticated studies and statistics to be able to better understand what does an impression, what type of value does that have online, or an online video view and these types of things. So we've begun to move into, I feel that reach, frequency, length of time that people are spending, engagement. These are absolutely important. These are not going away. That said, for online advertising and then very specifically online video advertising, there's also the qualitative assessments, right? You need to be able to think about what type of creative is being delivered, what is the actual messaging, where within that purchase funnel or the decision-making funnel are things being delivered, through what device. We were talking earlier even about non-PC devices, and it's funny, I have a friend, super high-end investment banker, and his entire house is wired, and I go to his fridge, and his fridge talks to me from the internet, right? It's pretty interesting. I feel like it knows what kind of beer I'm pulling out of that thing, and it's beginning to talk to me about the football game. So I think there's a lot of things that any of us need to be able to consider when you think of that mix. And right now, again, we've been talking a lot about pre-roll, mid-roll, post-roll, right? Sort of standard units as it relates to online video advertising. I think that, so we talk about those quantitative metrics, and we're really going to continue to see innovation there because everybody wants more reach and value and impression and science behind that. But let's not forget, if you were to look at even a display ad, over 50% of the impact that has is based on the creative, not about where you saw it or when you saw it. It's what are they actually saying to you and how does that impact you as a person? Are they delivering the right message at the right time? So when I think of online video ad creatives, I feel there's a lot of innovation that will come there, as well as when you begin to think of socially enabled ads. So this is now, remember, crossing online video with other types of engagements that we have online. So you're going to see a blurring of all of that. So I guess I don't have the answer that says, for you, this is what your marketing mix should be and how you should be able to judge it one way or the other. But I would just keep in mind that you're going to continue to see studies and movement towards a better way to be able to judge that for a brand, a marketer of any kind.
How much does that affect, the qualitative side affect your decision on, or give me a really good example of how the qualitative side could affect your decision making on where to put that pre-roll, what to buy it against?
Yeah, so context is very important, right? And certainly, we covered this earlier on, and as you begin to think about brand advertisers, well, why wouldn't they want to be up against a cat video versus something that's premium? And again, we've had a lot of different definitions today, or at various times, of what defines premium. And in my universe, when I think of premium, it's stuff that is, in the end, safe for brand advertisers. Brand advertisers are, as a group, sort of stodgy, right? They don't tend to be on the cutting edge of things because they don't have to be, right? They've been around for a long time. People know the brand. Also, depending upon your product, I think one of my favorite lines I've ever heard from our chief research officer is talking to somebody like Procter & Gamble, and the lady that is the worldwide brand manager for Charmin, whatever their toilet paper is. She's like, I don't have to target everybody who uses toilet paper, right? So she doesn't really care. But just whatever, right? Just anybody, anytime is fine. So, but these are things when you begin to think about that type of context. And I think that in order to capitalize upon something like online video and the creatives, there are going to have to be some chances that have to be taken, right? So I know that there are a lot of big companies that I've seen out there that, especially in brand advertising land, that have innovation teams, right? That is their definition, is that they are there to take chances and to push envelopes and to come up with new engagements and new metrics. So I feel that there's definitely like a big push and direction that will come from that. We'll just have to see who's out on the forefront of that, who falls flat on their face, right? There certainly will be ones that are like, ta-da, and you're like, whoa, that didn't work out so well. Or otherwise you'll be like, that was a little thing and it blew up into a viral campaign, and then everybody loved it and now you identify with it. So I think we'll have both ends of that spectrum, and probably way on one end and way on the other for some time before you start to find some middle ground and say, okay, I can lather, rinse, repeat this particular process and then have some direction to it.
One of the third things you touch upon a lot in the future of video from your side of things, and I think really may help in the preventing face plants by brands, is semantic video matching. Just share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so let's talk, if I look at, whenever we talk about algorithms and all the different things, and many people in this room, and I'm sure many people watching at home are involved with from a technology perspective, what are you using in order to be able to judge and say this is relevant or appropriate at this particular time for this particular person? You have quantitative metrics, you have, these are the demographics, or this is the website, or this is the text that they were reading, and then this is what we're delivering at the bottom. And that's absolutely the way it is right now, and I firmly believe that that is working and is, has been working well for some time. That said, semantic video matching is when you start to get into the qualitative of what is in the actual video, right? So you begin to talk about things like intent, or you also begin to think of sentiment, right? Because a video, let's say if I'm watching the Yankees win the World Series, against, let's say the Chicago Cubs, and I live in New York, but I'm actually really a Cubs fan, depending upon how I'm looking at that video, it could be a happy or sad one, right, for anybody. So there's always like a positive and negative side of things. And I firmly believe that there will be technology in order to help define that type of judgment, right? So it'll get beyond just, okay, I read this article on this, and then now I will see these video ads, right? Or I'll see these videos, these content videos, or ad videos. So it's similar to how, if anybody said Google from a search perspective is beginning to push heavily semantic search just the other day, right? So again, it's about better understanding of who you are before you go ahead and go through stuff. So, being able to, anybody could be male, 35 years old, 6'2", lives in wherever, but there could be, 10,000 versions of that have different backgrounds and different things and different stuff that they're into, and I feel that there's a lot of room in there in order to allow for better targeting, specifically around that matching of videos to people as they go.
Got it.